Unlisted videos, insider drops. The only way in is through my private SMS list.
New York City is in free fall under its far-left mayor. Governor Hochul just delivered another $4 billion to patch over a collapsing budget. At the same time, a 9.5% property tax surge is coming straight at working families. Protests are turning violent in Brooklyn and Manhattan while the mayor floats ideas about importing foreign illegal systems. Ordinary New Yorkers are watching the city become a test case for radical policies that no one voted for at the national level. So how long before the rest of the country pays the price? You see, families across the 5 boroughs already face sky-high rents and disappearing small businesses. Now higher property taxes will push even more middle-class households out the door, while corporations continue their exodus. Public safety is slipping as protest clashes force the NYPD into repeated street battles. The national message is clear. When cities abandon basic law and order in favor of redistribution and open border ideology, crime and chaos follow. Businesses leave, taxpayers suffer, and schools and streets decline. This is the exact pattern that voters rejected in 2024. Yet one major American city is doubling down. The outcome will shape whether blue strongholds copy the model or finally turn back towards common sense governance. And while New York City reels from financial strain and rising disorder, smart Americans are preparing for uncertainty by turning to proven assets. And here's what your financial advisor won't tell you. By the time the news tells you to buy gold, it's too late. You're waiting, I get it, everybody's waiting to see if the ceasefire holds, waiting to see if the Strait of Hormuz reopens, waiting to see what happens next. But for gold, it's not waiting for you. It moves on fear, on instability, on the unknown, and it moves faster than you can react. So while you're waiting for certainty, the rest of the world's planning for what comes next. And you can't afford to stay on the sidelines when cities like New York show how quickly things can unravel. Noble Gold Investments makes it simple to add physical gold and silver to your portfolio. Visit nextnewsgold.com or call today and take control before the next wave of instability arrives. Protect your savings now at nextnewsgold.com before more cities follow New York's path. So the violence on the streets is only half the story. Fresh recordings show the mayor openly praising Islamic migration narratives and calling on America to model itself after the Prophet Muhammad. That rhetoric now collides with the budget crisis and the tax hikes. Listeners need to hear exactly what he said and what it means for the largest city in the nation. We're finding out this from the New York Post that Hochul is now forking over another $4 billion to bail out Mandami's New York City budget woes as she faces intense election pressure. Tax the rich. That's the motto of New York City now.
I'm wondering your reactions to the 2 presentations we just heard about the state of inequality and the opportunity that is building, and we are part of it, a movement to actually address inequality by taxing the rich.
I think first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for the immense amount of work and scholarship and advocacy that you have both done. It is exactly what has allowed for this moment to be realized by so many in the fight for a fairer world for each and every person who calls it home. And
yeah, so his budget crisis getting another massive bailout from Hochul, but here he's now publicly tying New York to Islam and demanding mass Muslim immigration to match. The New York City mayor, Zohran Mamdani, publicly called for America to align with Islam and Prophet Muhammad to support mass Muslim immigration, which is truly terrifying. He's also preparing to implement Sharia law in New York City. Here's his own words.
Think of the freedom from suffering that Buddhism teaches us is only possible if we remove the 3 poisons of desire, hatred, and ignorance from our daily lives. We need not accept suffering as unchangeable. We need not treat hatred as the natural state. We have the power to set ourselves free. And I consider my own faith, Islam, a religion built upon a narrative of migration. The story of the Hijrah reminds us that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a stranger too, who fled Mecca and was welcomed in Medina. Surah An-Nahl 1642 tells us, as for those who immigrated in the cause of Allah after being persecuted, we will surely bless them with a good home in this world. Or as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Islam began as something strange and will go back to being strange. So glad tidings to the strangers. If faith offers us the moral compass to stand alongside the stranger, government can provide the resources. Let us create a new expectation of City Hall, where power is wielded to love, to embrace, and to protect. We will stand with the stranger today.
So whatever happened to the old separation of church and state argument, huh? I guess that doesn't apply for Islam. So there he is, publicly calling for America to align with Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. And his open call to follow the Prophet Muhammad on migration lines up with his latest broken promises as he forces a 9.5% property tax hike on working New Yorkers. The Rubin report says New York City just got played by their own tax-the-rich socialist mayor, Zohran Mamdani. He promised he would only hit the ultra-wealthy. Now he's pushing a massive 9.5 property tax hike that slams millions. Lie with dogs and you get fleas.
For those who have watched budget after budget, it is tempting to assume that we are engaging in the same dance as our predecessors. Let me assure you, nothing about this is typical. That's why our solutions won't be either. There are two paths to bridge this gap. The first is the most sustainable and the fairest path. This is the path of ending the drain on our city and raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers and the most profitable corporations. The onus for resolving this crisis should not be placed on the backs of working and middle-class New Yorkers. If we do not fix this structural imbalance and do not heed the calls of New Yorkers to raise taxes on the wealthy, this crisis will not disappear. It will simply return, year after year, forcing harder and harsher choices each time. And if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path. Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property taxes.
Tax the rich. Tax the people who are providing all the jobs, and then those companies all leave, and then you're just freaking screwed. His radical agenda already producing results on streets where Islamist protesters turned violent outside a Brooklyn synagogue and left the NYPD struggling to restore order. Take a look at this.
An anti-Israel mob clashing with counter-protesters near a synagogue in Brooklyn, New York, ending with the NYPD making several arrests. It comes on the heels of another chaotic demonstration last week in Manhattan. Nate Foy is live in Brooklyn. He's got more on this story for us. Nate?
Hey, Sandra, yeah, this is the second time we've seen a similar protest in 7 days, and the NYPD tells Fox this morning they took 4 people into custody after an anti-Israel protest that started right here at this Jewish center and synagogue in Brooklyn. It then spread throughout the rest of this predominantly Jewish neighborhood. The protesters were interrupting an event advertising real estate in Israel and the West Bank. At times, the protest turned violent, forcing police to step in. Take a look. Sandra, this is the same exact group who clashed with police outside a synagogue last week in New York City's Upper East Side, chanting Israel should not exist and Palestine will never die. Republican New York City Councilwoman Vicky Palladino posted on X, quote, "This is what New York now has to look forward to, and it's going to get much worse for Jews, for homeowners, for businesses, for executives and banks and restaurants, and everyone who isn't part of their radical nexus. Nobody is safe. Everyone will be targeted." Palladino also criticized New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, saying New Yorkers are now getting what they voted for and that he was elected to facilitate this kind of chaos.
So this is no longer a local budget fight. It reveals what happens when progressive governance meets real-world consequences. Higher taxes, unchecked protests, and imported ideological demands are driving the very people and businesses New York needs straight out of the city. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is delivering record energy production, border security, tax relief that rewards work instead of punishing success. The contrast couldn't be sharper. One side keeps experimenting with failed ideas, while the other delivers results. New York is becoming the warning sign every American should study before similar policies spread. So New Yorkers, they deserve better than endless bailouts and experiments that push the middle class. The rest of the country is watching and rejecting this model. Share this report so more families understand the stakes. And drop your thoughts in the comments below and answer this quick question. Do you believe that cities like New York can still recover under current leadership? If you haven't done so yet, text raw feed to 844-840-4963 like hundreds of other patriots have already done. To bypass the algorithm, they're already receiving direct updates from me right to their phones. I want you on that list too. So check out the Next News merch shelf below this video for the latest America First, America 250 apparel. We're standing for truth and real solutions, so stay with us at the Next News Network.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.